it's Kevin with the Rogue Market. It has been a minute since I've posted anything on this channel. I want to give everyone just a little bit of an update. I have been AWOL for quite some time, mainly due to the fact that I just lost the focus and lost the love for doing anything Magic the Gathering finance related. Also, with the market crash that has been going on this past months and months and months. I'll have to talk about it in a longer duration of just how much money personally I've lost on the Magic the Gathering market crash for the sealed product, as well as just some of the other things that are just plaguing the industry right now. However, I do think we are about to turn a leaf with that entire collapse, and I think we're going to start heading back into a market that's actually stomachable. Again, I'll talk more about that in a specific video of why I think the leaf is turning here, but I've been actually analyzing the market, and singles are still pretty good as far as, especially when a new card has been spoiled from, like we saw with Commander Masters, all the Eldrazi going up, or some of the slivers that didn't get reprinted, and there still is those little niches that you can make money or at least manage your Magic the Gathering collection. Now, when I started this channel, it was more about managing your Magic the Gathering collection. I think that if you're looking to make a ton of money off of Magic the Gathering, and again, I need to do a video about this because I get into quite the rant where I think we have too many cooks in this industry now, that everyone and their dog around the pandemic got together and decided that they were going to try to make a business out of Magic the Gathering, and it just really led to the overprinting of cards, the overspeculation of cards, and the chickens are coming home to roost. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to lose out a lot of their investments. They're going to get tired of it. There are people that got into this industry that have no business being in this industry. Like, I mean, they had nothing to do with this game, nothing to do with they just saw this as a target market that they could get into with, free money. And it would double up, triple up, as you saw with like the 2018 to what happened in 2021, where basically everything went up in value. And I think those people are going to weed it out. And what that's going to do is it's going to get back to a healthy medium between collectors, players, and then people that actually do buy and sell with this game. So I think that unless you're knowledgeable in Magic the Gathering, you shouldn't be touching it. And unfortunately, even if you are knowledgeable, I think these past few years have been pretty rough on all of us with the kind of reprint hell that we've been under. So with that said, there will be a lot of upkeep to do with this channel and a lot of updating of where I've been and what I've been up to. However, I have been analyzing Rowan from the new set of Eldraine, and I think we found some good specs. There are some low supply cards in this mix that are just duh pickups right now to get a manager collection, or if you do want to do some quick flips, these are some cards. And I'm just going to show you the raw way I do this, and in the future I'll get back to editing some more snazzy videos and doing some top 10s and have all that juice that we used to have. So hopefully I can earn your resubscription if you have been unsubscribed, or if you haven't watched this channel in a while, I can re-earn that and get your retrust to actually start creating these videos on a decent schedule. So again, not getting into too much of it, I am starting to feel good again about the Magic market as well as making videos. I miss it, and that's what I need. And I need that little kick in the butt to get back into making the video content. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into Rowan. So I really like Rowan. Rowan has a unique ability. Typically when I like cards, it is the #1 card right now being brewed with from Eldraine, by the way, and we'll show that in a second. And that's always a good sign because, the more eyes on this particular card mean the more cards that are eventually going to be purchased that go with this card. And what I like about this card is it's just not your run-of-the-mill commander that does something like any other commander does. So it has a very specific ability that is pretty unique to Rowan. I mean, there's some other ones in blue that have reduced the cost of cards, but for red, black, and especially with how much life you've paid, this is a very, very interesting mechanic that's been printed on Rowan. And let's just go over the details here. Rowan is a 3-mana 4/2 human wizard with Menace. I don't know if that's relevant at all. You want this guy to stick out. Cards like Lightning Grease are going to be very good with Rowan, with giving haste and hexproof, or Shroud, or whatever cards you can put on there to give haste and Shroud or hexproof is great. So I don't think they'll spike because they go in every commander deck, but you maybe should be looking for those type of cards. But anyway, spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you've lost this turn. So unfortunately, this is where I've identified the really sweet spot with this card, is you want cards that have renewable ways to pay a lot of life immediately, and then you can tap Rowan, and then you can cast a big X spell, reducing or a big creature, or a big, there are plenty of them in Magic the Gathering. So I don't think the payoffs are necessarily there. Of course, there's going to be some payoffs here that you'll see when we look at EDHREC stats of what people are building with Rowan. But I think there are definitely some hidden gems with this that have low supply that I think that every deck is going to want to include. So let's pull up EDHREC here. EDHREC is the greatest source still of seeing what people are actually doing. I mean, MTG Goldfish is also pretty good, but it seems like EDHREC is more up to date. It takes a couple weeks before MTG Goldfish kind of kicks in with a lot of user submitted decks because they're a little bit slower getting out the spoilers and whatnot and letting people actually start building around those cards. But anyway, as you can see, a lot of people are building with these X spells like Crackle the Power, Torment of Hailfire, Exsanguate. Those are all good specs right now. I think all of them will go up, but I don't think they're going to go up the percentage base of these other cards because these cards are already cards that are used in so many decks. I mean, the supply and demand have already been kind of settled with these, and they have a good equilibrium. Whereas there are other cards with these pay life cards that I think are just absolute hidden gems. So first of all, the Treasonous Ogre is one that is very, very interesting. This card has been going up forever now because it's just been a great way. I play this in a lot of red decks because Treasonous Ogre is a great way to cheat in cards. Let me pull up this over a little bit so you can actually see Treasonous Ogre. It says pay 3 life, add red to your mana pool. So if there ever has been a synergistic card with Treasonous Ogre, it is definitely Rowan Scion of War. Now this is an uncommon out of Conspiracy, so this might as well be a mythic at this point because this wasn't a very highly open set at the time. Conspiracy is actually a set that people didn't like at first, and it didn't get the print waves that I think Conspiracy 2 got, or sets that are now coming out like even Battle Bond or any of these master sets. I think they have a lot higher supply than Treasonous Ogre. So the supply of this is actually quite low. I think there might have been a list. Let me look up Treasonous Ogre to see if there was a list version of it. These are all sorts of things you do want to look at. It does not look like there was any. So Mystery Booster Retail Edition had it, but it does look like it's just Conspiracy. Conspiracy is the only place it's been printed. It's had that slow and steady price trajectory going up because people have been putting this, like, again, I run this in like a tally because being able to cheat out a commander just with the cost of 3 life is worth it for that red mana or other spells too. So this is just a good card to be able to add mana, but it has that massively high synergy with Rowan, as in it's going to allow all of your spells to cost 3 less at that point. So even just a couple activations of this guy and you're right on the ball of starting to cast those really, really big cards. So this is going to be a must include. I'm actually quite surprised that in Rowan that it's only seeing a 73% synergy. This should be 100% of deck should be running the Treasonous Ogre because of how synergistic it is. I mean, there's your 1-2 punch right there. Treasonous Ogre, Torment of Hailfire, massive combo with the Rowan. So what I like about this too is it does seem to have a pretty good TCG player selling already. So if you come over here to TCG Player and look at the amount of cards sold, they are starting to get stripped out below that $6 price range. So today is where it's really started picking up. There weren't a lot of sales yesterday, but today you can see the cat's out of the bag. We have a person that's purchased 8 there, 4 there, 3 there. So they're being stripped very, very quickly. There's not a lot of cards that are near mint that are under that price tag. Just a few of them you can pick up under the $6, so $4.90 plus 99-cent shipping there. And then if you start going down, it's really, really starting to creep up. If you actually go over here to the 4 or more copies, where they put that on TCG Player now, 4 more copies, you can start to get another picture that it jumps up very quickly, and there's only a 1-pager of 4 more copies. So typically when I'm looking at cards that I know are going to start really spiking up, this is the first thing I start to do is look at that. You look at the prices sold, and then you see which ones have 4 more copies left, and you just know these suckers are going to get bought up very quickly to go in Rowan. Now again, I want to say a little bit of preface here too. Another reason why I stopped doing this channel is because of the reprint hell. Everything was being reprinted. There was a time I was having a conversation with Zach. I'm like, I'm not worried about Magic the Gathering because the more cards they print, the harder it is for them to reprint cards because there's just so many out there. And so when they pick products, they're going to have to choose, which card gets reprinted, and they're never going to be able to hit all of them. And what makes Magic the Gathering, especially Commander, so good is you can build so many unique cards, and people will want these obscure cards to go in it, or another like Rowan here, just might make a card that would not go in other decks. All of a sudden, like, well, this is actually a better version of the card, and then they, the demand gets out, or the demand starts outstretching supply, and it will go up. So it's I always thought Magic the Gathering, if it could just continue with its demand in as far as the player base, that they'd be always able to stay above the curve with the supply. And then Wizards of the Coast did a hold my beer, and we saw just the amount of secret layers, the amount of reprints. But I'm really thinking this is going to turn a page with Commander Masters. I really do. I think that Wizards is going to tighten ship. I think that they don't want this disaster. They don't want to lose strategic partners like like Commander Masters has wiped out stuff. And I think they wouldn't. Right now, their whole strategy is, well, if anything sells, and we have to blow it out, like it doesn't cost us more to print a Commander Masters than it does a New Capenna. And so even if we have to blow it out New Capenna prices, we still make money. However, they can't continue to do that to distributors and stores and players to put that bad taste in their mouth of the perceived value they've lost. And that's the funny thing about Magic the Gathering players is, they still value their cards. Even if they never are ever going to sell them. If they're going to stick in a binder or stick in a box or stick in a closet for the rest of their life, people are like, wow, I opened up $50 worth of value. And they feel proud about that, even though it's never going to be sold. I mean, that's kind of the psychology of collectibles that actually make collectibles, work. But anyway, getting off on a tangent again. I apologize for the tangents I'm going on because there's a lot to discuss because it feels like I haven't even talked about the market in quite some time here with Magic the Gathering. I'll do it for Market Monday tomorrow on the Rogue Deck Builder channel. I'll go deep into detail about where I feel the market is going. So I don't think Wizards of the Coast has a choice. I think that something is going to have to give if they continue want to sell this as a trading card game and really justify those outlandish prices. So anyway, where were we? Treasonous Ogre. So this is a good example of like cards that haven't seen a reprint that still have the chance of actually going quite up in value. And this is, I think, going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back as far as supply is concerned or demand is concerned. That's going to outstress the supply, and these are going to be extremely sought after. So again, this is another thing. You could always check your bulk bins for the Treasonous Ogre. So, I mean, this card was at one point super, super cheap. If you look at it, was 13 cents during Conspiracy. So if people play during this, they might have bulked them out. So if you have, a store that has bulk bins and stuff and has them sorted by set, this could be something that might still be in there. I doubt it, though, because it's been $3 for quite some time, but you never know. It's something that you can always go and check back. So next one I really want to talk about that is probably still in bulk bins is this Blood Celebrant. So Blood Celebrant is a pretty cool card. Pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. But this is just really cool with Rowan because it's another one that you can just dump a lot of mana into. So before you tap Rowan, you're going to have to decide, okay, how much do I want to be throwing in? How much of this? And what I really like about this is it's more customizable than the Ogre. Now the Ogre does it it nets you up mana. The Ogre does, but this one can actually get you the mana of any color of either the red or black. So if you need to turn black into black to keep paying for its pay 1 life, you can do that. But you can also at the very end turn that black into a red, and then you can actually cast the red spell. So it's a little bit easier to go for that big bomb spell, especially if you can use other things to generate more black, like the Dark Rituals or like the there might be other things you can do there. This is another way you can turn that black into a red and be able to spend that red on those big spells. So Blood Celebrant, again, it's not netting you up mana, so you have to decide how much you want to dump into it, but what it's really saying is pay 1 life and then reduce the cost of future spells after you tap Rowan. So very good synergy between them, and if you can see it's not played too often in too many other decks, but there has been a number of decks, like it's in 8,000 decks already. So this card was already poised, in my opinion. Any low supply card, unless it gets hit on the list, that's another thing that I really wish Wizards of the Coast would address, is to me, like the set booster list slot is such a wasted slot because no one values it. And you might argue with me there, but really no one does. Like when people when they take into account when they buy a set, no one's gonna be like, oh, that I know it's in the list slot, so I'm going to buy this set booster because this card can be contained in the list slot. Now, Wizards of the Coast started the list because they wanted to be like showcase some older cards, maybe like have people like chase after those, and it was a good idea, but the execution and the inability for it to transition over to actually people wanting to open up products specifically for the list, it didn't work that way, and so it's a big miss. And I think that Wizards of the Coast should just absolutely stop the list and then use the quote-unquote reput equity for futures sets down the road if they're going to try to do master sets. I don't think they can have their cake and eat it too here. I don't think they can have things like the list and secret layers as well as going commander sets. But once again, I'm going off on a tangent on what I was talking about here with the Blood Celebrant and the Rowan Scion of War just being an absolute powerhouse of a synergy. And if we go back over to the TCG Player, the same thing can be said about TCG Player. The low copies are starting to get stripped out. The sales history is quite good in the past couple days. It's starting to, it's starting to pick up here on the 18th. There wasn't really much on the 19th, but the 20th today it's been picking up, and I'm assuming as this starts to be built around and people start showcasing this, that this is going to show up in a lot of lists because of the just absolute synergy between Blood Celebrant and the Rowan. All right, going back over to Rowan, there's a few other cards that I like. The next one is going to be Crick. So Crick is really synergistic. So what I wanted to say about the cards that I like with Rowan is I want them to be able to pay the life before you activate Rowan. You don't want to be like, okay, I've activated Rowan, now I can start using a lot of spells like Read the Bones and pay more life. And it's like, okay, well then I have to find a way to untap Rowan, which might be actually the way to go, but as of now, it's not really the dull way to go. So why I like Crick is actually something you can pay for early for like 4 mana and 6 life. And then you can start, getting the chain going, and then being able to pay life to pay the black mana. So Crick, Torment of Hailfire, and Rowan is just a pretty good card or combo because you pay the cost for Crick for the 4 and the 6 life. You've already reduced it by that, and then you can actually pay some more life when you activate the Torment of Hailfire to then bump it up to reduce that X to where you need it to be. So again, I'm not exactly sure how it stacks. So I don't think you can pay more into X when you pay in to the black and then have it read like on the stack. No, I don't think it works that way with Rowan. I was thinking you could do it simultaneously with paying the cost for Torment of Hailfire with Crick. But however, again, if you can, on subsequent turns, you can actually use Crick to cast spells and then reduce the cost, and then it's going to be a good thing. But the main thing is, these Phyrexian mana symbols are actually quite good with the Rowan to begin with. So Crick has this kind of double synergy of being able to pay life in the future for Rowan and pay life immediately with the six life you can pay to get this sucker out. The other thing I like about Crick right now is I think Crick is at its low. So there had been a long time where this card was just going down, 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 mainly due to the fact that it wasn't a secret lair and the amount of Commander 2019. Commander 2019 was so overprinted for a Commander set. That was just pumped. And there really wasn't a lot of good cards in that. There was like Dockside Extortionist, and not only was it not perceived well, but there was a lot of supply of Commander 2019. So it's taken a long time for Crick to reach its bottom, especially since it has had the printing of the secret lair. But I think now is where we're going to see the bottom. We're actually starting to see it come back up. And again, the sales history seemed quite good. What I like about this card specifically is that it has demand by itself. Crick is a card that actually sees quite a bit of play in competitive EDH as well as is just in, like, as a commander, it's a quite popular commander. There's a lot of just broken stuff. You haven't been up against a Crick deck before, I would say you're missing out, but you're not really missing out because it's a really, really powerful Voltron commander that can just go off really quick and kill one player, or it's just a card that can ramp out a lot of big spells quickly for that ability. So there's kind of that double dip where it's at its low. I don't think it's going to go any lower than this, and there's going to be this new demand for the card, and so that's just a double whammy for this card to be able to go up in price. A few of the other cards I want to talk about this, and then we'll close this video, and I'll try to do a bigger updated video in the future with the Rowan, is anything with Phyrexian mana. I think is actually, where was I with Rowan? We have to go back here. I think is actually a pretty decent spec. Now, of course, Necropotence ad nauseum, but you can come back down here and there are some other trash cards that I think will see some play. And let's see if we can find one here that just have any sort of Phyrexian mana. So yeah, so here we go, the Immolating Soul Eater. Immolating Soul Eater is another one. It is a comment on New Phyrexia. It has never seen a reprint, but these type of cards, Commander alone can actually spec them. We saw that with a lot of cards like Feather, the Redeemed, or Hepatra in the past. Even recently, we've had Commanders that have come out that have taken some of these older cards, these modern era cards, and just spiked them because of just one copy going in every deck. And I'm actually really like Immolating Soul Eater because, again, it's something that you can tailor to reduce the mana cost, just the cost of life to reduce the mana cost of future spells. And that's all you really need to get Rowan to do some really broken things in a turn. So the Immolating Soul Eater's ability just to do that over and over, and I believe there's the Hex, there's like the Hex Mage or the we'll see if we can find her. The Molten Steel Dragon's another one. Not only can you pay the 2 life to get it out, but then you can pay the life there. And the Hex Parasite. Hex Parasite's pretty good too because you can remove up to X counters from target permanent, and X can be 0, I believe. I believe you can actually cost X. You can just pay this over and over. Correct me if I'm wrong if I can do this Hex Parasite or not. But it's something too that actually might be spiking here. This one might actually be, yeah, it looks like this one is starting to go up by itself. This one did recently have some combos with one of the cards. I mean, I guess we can just click on Hex Parasite and see exactly what it... I know it just recently had a card that it did, like commander that it did synergize with. Maybe it was... I don't know if it was Tom... Yeah, maybe it is Tom Bombadil that just spiked it up. So this is going to give him even more supply issues to the Hex Parasite, which is quite interesting. That's another one that I think is pretty neat. But cards like Street Wraith have been printed like crazy. There are many other pay life cards that are always good. And we Dismember, there's another good one that's pretty good, other than you have to still pay the 1 mana for it. And I'm thinking though that those are the ones I'd be targeting right off the bat, is those particular creatures that have the ability just to reduce the life total over and over until you're ready to cast the big spells. So we'll go over to a bigger deep dive with this Rowan. Maybe I'll actually, on the Rogue Deck Builder, make a commander deck out of this one, because it is a very interesting commander to try to run as a commander. And there are some things like the One Ring. The One Ring just has insane synergy. Any of the pay life lands, I think, are going to be just a shoe-in for Rowan. So there's a lot of great specs here that I think can go in it. So again, I think that this sort of topic is alive and well. I apologize for being gone for so long with not talking about the market. I want to do it in the future. Again, I think I just kind of got sidetracked with running the Patreon service, took up so much of my time, and then just all the bad decision after bad decision by WotC and some other the noise going in the community. I just got so burnt out talking about Magic the Gathering when it's just, you know, front and center so much of your life and whatnot. And then again, there was a time period here where we just really had to stop the bleeding with a lot of the oversaturation of sealed product going out on Magic the Gathering. So again, I want to find my roots again. I want to come back to doing videos, and hopefully I can re-earn your subscription, or earn your subscription if you haven't subscribed before, or at least re-earn your watches. And let me know in the future what type of videos you would like to see, as I will try to find my groove again and get back to the good old days of this channel. This has been Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.